Alright, yo, what's poppin'? It's Smoking with Too Tall. I got a reoccurring guest today, the one, the only Magic Man. Drop your socials.
Magic Man of Magic Man _of_ Manch. That's my personal, and then Magic Man 1776. That's my business.
Alright, so last time you were here, you showed me some tricks and I couldn't fucking figure them out. I need you to do that for me again, yo. I need to see some shit, yo.
Yeah, so I have this silver dollar coin here.
Shit.
Obviously how gravity works, right? So gravity works this way.
Yeah.
And gravity, it goes downwards, right? But anti-gravity looks like this. It's just anti-gravity. So it just goes upwards.
Nah, that's fine.
And sometimes if you're lucky, you're able to get the coin to kind of almost look like it fades away.
That's some bullshit, yo. Because I'm sitting right here and I was looking at the coin and that shit gone, yo. Ain't that some shit?
Yeah, that's new. That's a little bit of a new flavor from my time in Hawaii. So,
speaking of your time in Hawaii, how'd that come together?
So, as everyone knows, I was supposed to go to Hollywood after I left here, and that was 100% the plan. And then at the last minute, I got this beautiful opportunity to work with Shoot Ogawa, who's the best sleight of hand artist in the world. He's the Michael Jackson of what I do.
Okay.
And so it was just amazing that I was able to get that opportunity to work with him and all the way in Hawaii. Of course, and at first I was like, well, it's a little too far. And I already made plans to go to Hollywood, so I'm not so sure about it. And the woman who got me in contact with the people in Hawaii, her name is Diana Zimmerman.
Okay.
Or Diana the Enchantress from back in the day. She's such a kick-ass woman, and she's amazing. And she's one of the best female magicians to ever live. And she's almost been working like my agent or my manager, getting me different gigs and stuff. And so she got me a gig out in Hawaii, and I took it. So yeah, that's how that came about.
And how long have you been out there for?
So I was out there for about 4 months until I came back to visit. So this is kind of just a layover for me. I came back to have a vacation because I was working 13 plus hours a day, 6 days a week, 2 shows a night in Hawaii. Yeah. So, I was like, let me take a vacation. I'm not very good at it, though. I haven't vacated since I've been back. Always still looking for new jobs and new gigs and stuff like that.
Well, I imagine it's hard to like for me at least, like it's hard to not be productive when you're so used to being productive 24/7. How do you relax when you do find time to relax?
Relaxing for me looks like just practicing. Like I'll sit there with my coin and really go, oh my gosh, that really vanished. That really looks good. And so for me, that's kind of my relax when I'm not performing it for people. As much as I love to perform magic for people, it's nerve-wracking because I'm always worried about, am I giving them the best show? Am I giving them the best visuals? When it's just by myself, I can do all the moves without the heat, of people not enjoying it or catching the moves and things like that. And I've learned to actually have confidence and be like, I've been doing this for a little over a decade. It's very rare that you catch me. And not because I'm making it a game of catch me if you can. It's more of I've just smoothened it out to the point where it just looks seamless. It's not like I'm doing any tricky moves. It's supposed to look like magic. It's not supposed to look like I'm doing anything.
Right. So what is the number one thing that you hate about doing your performance or just hate about your industry or magic in general?
Dang. They're gonna get me for this one. I'm not a huge fan of the magic community at the moment.
Why's that?
Because and it's with any community, but when I was younger I thought that magic was just really, really cool and that the people who could do it were really cool. And then as I dived into more magic, I realized that there's a world which I didn't know existed. And then I thought, that we all love magic and we're all in it for the art of magic and magic is our baby and we're all going to pitch into. But even though we can do what it seems like almost godlike things, we're still humans, which means we can lie, we can cheat, we can steal, we can, be just as bad as anybody else. And that was something that I was very naive going into it. I thought that, we're magicians. We're like these cool magical, beings that that are really kind and really cool and really charming. And I found that there are some who will steal tricks from each other and use it, or they'll, I've had that happen to me where I've given someone an idea and they did the idea and then didn't even credit me, which I was, and I thought we were brothers because it is a brotherhood. It's a brotherhood. It's a sisterhood, but we're still humans, which kind of sucked knowing that part. And some of them are very snakes, and the same techniques we use to deceit and manipulate are used in a bad way sometimes,
Right.
which was kind of sad because I was like, we have these abilities that can be used for bad, right? Like we use deception, we use timing, we use manipulation, gaslighting, all these things that are like bad, right? But we use them in an entertaining way.
Right.
And people enjoy being gaslit, but
so for in the comedy world, for example, if someone steals like a joke, like the other comedians almost rip like that comedian apart.
Yeah.
Why do you think that isn't the case in the magic like industry?
It definitely is. I think it depends. So if you're an older magician and you're a younger magician, I think there's an age problem there because I think that if an older magician does it to a younger magician, the older magicians won't do anything. But if it's older magicians doing it to each other, then they're like, obviously you got to put a stop to that. But if it's younger, a lot of the older magicians rag on the younger ones. Oh, you guys don't read the books. You guys aren't real magicians. And we're very innovative and we have YouTube and things. And so I've been ragged on. One thing though, I will agree with the older magicians though, that if you read a book versus watching a video, you have to come up with the methods because they'll try to explain it to you in the book and it's impossible.
Yeah.
But you'll figure it out in your own way. So you might have like 15 different ways you can do this one trick, because you were trying to figure it out. So that's how different methods are created. Now, if you're watching YouTube, you're only knowing that one method. And most of the time you just stick with that one method. It's not up to creation or interpretation. You get it right then and there. You can clearly see how it's done. So that's one thing I agree with them. But to suggest that we're less than because we're a younger generation who has access to YouTube, I mean, let's be honest, they would have done the same thing had they have had access to the internet.
Right.
So, I think, and they had DVDs, you know what I mean?
Right.
So they had DVDs. This is just our version of DVDs. And a lot of the older magicians, they're like, they're bitter.
You went to the school in LA. So
the academy.
What was their doctrine like? Were you teaching yourself? Like, were they teaching out of books? Were they showing like?
So
videos?
They were doing lectures. So what the castle does is they do lectures, and it's really great because these older, more established magicians will talk to. I mean, they have it for the junior members, and they also have it for the adult members. So I actually graduated when I was in Hawaii. I graduated to being a full 100% adult member.
Okay.
Which was great. And then, but yeah, they hold lectures. So we get to see the best of the best talk. They usually do a performance and then they take their performance and they break it down and they break down the thought process behind it, what they had to do, how they began doing it. And
allowed to share this information?
Yeah, I'm just not allowed to show it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to show it. No.
In trouble.
But no, there's a lot of cool stuff. And I like to be honest because there are some magicians like my mentor out in Hawaii who's very honest. He was doing these shows and he was doing a trick called the linking rings. I don't know if you've ever heard of the linking rings.
Yeah.
And he's telling the audience how it's done, pretty much how it's done. And he goes, well, one, I can't give you these rings because there is something to them. But he's like, I'm going to show you anyways. And he knows because he's so good at the linking rings, it doesn't matter if he tells you the truth.
Right.
Because I know where he's linking it from, but he's actually linking it from like the opposite. And I'm like, I'm fooled because I'm like, I know where the secret is, but you're not linking it in where the secret is. How are you doing that? Because he's so good. But he's just, I'm so blessed to be working with Shoot. He's been on Penn and Teller twice. He's just amazing. And his style of magic is real magic. I remember one time we were in the office together and he pulls out his hand and it's just short sleeve shorts. He's not wearing anything. And in his palm, there's nothing there. And then he moves his palm closer to me and there's a coin out of nowhere. Just right in his palm. And I'm thinking to myself, no. Just no. And I'm a magician, so I know how, but no. I have no idea. I had no idea. And then he proceeds to, with an open palm, just pluck out multiple coins just out of the hairs of his fingertips. And then he just starts putting them to wherever dimension he took them from. And I'm just thinking to myself, and he did it, and I shot up from my seat. I start crying. And I begged him to stop. I was like, I can't handle it. Because he's this close to me, right? Doing things I should know.
Yeah.
See, that's
but
how
I have
I
no
felt
idea.
about right fucking there when you did the trick.
But
yo.
that's Shoot. That's a little bit of touch of Shoot, where Shoot will have, a coin and you can clearly see, and then it just starts slowly fading in his hand.
Huh.
And that stuff really, first thing, it surprised me. And then I got into deep depression immediately. And I actually got off my social media for about a month because I thought to myself, I don't want to do magic anymore. I hadn't been doing magic anymore, right? I wanted to quit. Then I thought to myself, okay, that's a little extreme. What I'm going to do is I'm not going to do magic for the public until I'm at least close or on my way to being that good. Because what I had been doing for years was just tricks. I thought I was doing magic. For over a decade since I've been doing this, not one time have I done magic. And it really upset me, and it really got me into deep depression. And then I realized I'm not a quitter, so I'm like, all right, well, I want to be on the same level, or at least close. Now, you have to be at a certain delusion to really get good. And I told Shoot this, and me and Shoot never agreed on this. He was like, Sean, you can do everything that I can do. And I said, no, you're a different breed. 100%. There are people, I truly believe, that are born and they're like Michael Jackson. Like, there's nobody is ever going to be another Michael Jackson. There isn't. They're not even close.
Right.
And so there are people like that. And I was lucky enough to meet someone on Michael Jackson's level, but in the magic community.
Right.
So it was really cool because I grew up loving Michael, and Michael's been a huge icon. And if you look at my style very closely, you can tell there's very much Michael in it. But some of the things Shoot was saying, and Shoot hadn't met Michael, and Shoot has never really done deep research on Michael, and they're saying the same exact thing. I've seen Michael Jackson's interviews, and then I'm talking to Shoot, and Shoot's saying the exact words to me about his thought process. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, I got to meet Michael, essentially, which was really cool that I got to meet a man who I put on the same level as Michael, but just in two different categories.
I feel like what you're talking about is such like a fundamental concept amongst like humans in general, because I've talked to like older guys or some shit who have been doing business forever. Like, they're a multimillionaire. He's like retired. He's just doing whatever he's doing. And they've said the same things about business that I've heard other people said. And it's such a universal concept amongst like people, you know what I mean? And it's like you see other people like emulate like say Michael Jackson of that industry or Michael Jackson of this industry. It's just so interesting once you start connecting those dots, but it's almost like you can't connect those dots until you've hit a prerequisite. Like, if you hadn't been doing those tricks for so long, you never would have met this Michael Jackson of magic. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He was, the things he was able to do was crazy. When I watched his first show, because when I got on the island, I watched his show. It almost seemed as if he knew the air pressure in the room. He knew your heartbeat. He knew what you were looking at, when you were looking at it. There was a time where I like peered over to kind of look to see if I could see more of what he was doing. And he makes eye contact with me like I saw you looking.
Right.
And I'm like, wow. He's very aware. He's hyper aware of everyone. And there's about 50, 60 people that were holding the theater. And he memorized all their names. He's made eye contact and conversated and made it personal for each and every one of them. In about an hour. And it's just amazing. His grasp on crowds is just, it's crazy to me. He has a hold on every single member of the crowd, and he pays attention, even to the point where he called out a woman and was like, oh, you need to use the bathroom? Go ahead and use the bathroom. It's like the woman's thinking it in her brain. She never said it. And he just knows, and he's very kind, very loving. And the level that he's at, he shouldn't be as humble. It's just not possible. It's not humanly possible for him to be as good as he is and being as humble as he was. And it just reminded me so much of Michael, because he's so kind to this guy.
So watching a performance like that, and then from what you said earlier about like the older generation saying, oh, like read from the books, learn from the books, whatever, when you watch a performance like that, do you ever wonder, like, what if he incorporated, say, like AI into his performance? How would that elevate him even further?
I think it would take away, and I'm gonna
really
try to quote Shoot on this as much as possible, because Shoot was saying something to me about, because the way I perform very dramatic, the way I look usually when I dress very dramatic, but that's gonna be toned down very soon.
Okay.
Because Shoot was saying a lot of these special effects, it takes away from it. Like, imagine if I had the coin in my hand and I did that and I made it flash into lightning and then it lightning striked around the room and I caught it in the other hand. It's just too much. It's exciting, but it's just too much when I could purely just go like this and it's gone.
Right.
Right? And then it's back. Why do I have to have all the, you know what I mean? All this weird, and then it'd just be crazy. It'd be unbelievable, but it's just too much to follow.
Right.
His whole thing is to be very structured and to keep a frame, right? To keep a very good frame. So he taught me a lot about image, and I think AI would take away from it because people know that AI exists. The reason why magic works is we take methods and even science facts that most people don't know, and we just take advantage of that, right? With a lot of other things too. But there's a lot of information that people don't know that's out in the public that we take advantage of. Everyone knows AI.
Right.
If I started using AI, people would be like, oh, I know how that trick is done. And it would the whole illusion would collapse. Unless it was done very well. But I think the practical, the better.
What foreseeable like innovations within the magic industry do you like see?
Well, I'm already starting to see it. So there's a guy who's on America's Got Talent who uses technology and magic. He's not the first one to do it, but he has taken it to very high levels where he can have this like big TV or tablet and just pull out milk, like a carton of milk, and just drink it and then pull out a glass from the TV, or he'll interact with someone on TV wearing sunglasses and he'll steal their sunglasses and wear it. And the guy will be like, what the heck? You know? And so it's really cool. I've seen stuff like that. I think, and again, I'm going to refer to Shoot on this. That's all well, and it's great. I think just keeping up with the times too. Because imagine if you're doing an old school type of parlor magic, but yet you're making jokes from like The Boys TV show.
Right.
That's innovative, right? Because there's a joke that was written in the original book that didn't have a joke about The Boys, because The Boys didn't exist back then. So you can be innovative and you can be relevant just by what you're saying or what you're wearing. Because you might be wearing like a little pin that says Huck Tua on it or whatever if you wanted to, just to be stupid. And then people who are really paying attention to your outfit will see it and be like, oh, this is modern, right? And there's something in their mind that goes, oh, I can relate to that because I've heard that. Or, you know, or if it's like the TikTok logo, or if I do a trick where I take a coin and then I cover it and the smoke starts to appear and then you can see the TikTok logo on the coin. You know what I mean? Very, very relatable. Very demure, you know what I'm saying? Very, you know, see, even I'm doing it now. So it's like I've been trying to catch up on all the new trends. But yeah, that's how I stay relevant. I can make those jokes and make things like that. And I don't know.
So how do you, since meeting Shoot and being in Hawaii and all that, how has your act changed from before Hawaii to like right now?
I'm gonna say this, and people are gonna be really mad because this is gonna segue into something else. But less goofy.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is before I left, I thought my New Hampshire Chronicle debut was cute. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
Then I learned what I learned out in Hawaii about image and really framing and really being in control of what you want people to see of you. And I look back at the interview and I haven't watched it since. I'm very cringed by it. It was very goofy, and I realized that a lot of people, like, and I'm not going to name names, but artists and stuff that I've noticed in the city have had that same goofy type look. And you have to be very careful with that. Again, there was someone recently who did something not very professional, and it got into the public eye, and me and this person spoke. And one thing that we spoke about was the goofiness of it and I made a post because everyone was posting it. I kind of made my own separate post because what I'm really big on is trying not to be like everybody else. I did my separate post, and I said, as an artist and as an entrepreneur, you have to be very careful of how professional you are and how goofy or how ungoofy you look, because people will not take you seriously. As an entrepreneur, we have it a lot harder. And as an artist, we have it a lot harder because at a 9-to-5 job, you can show up 5-10 minutes late. I dare them to fire you. I dare them to look for somebody else. Right. You're an entrepreneur. You don't get that. Someone says one bad thing, one bad review, you're done. And if it's bad enough, you have to rebrand. You have to you may have to leave and start somewhere else in a different state. If you're lucky to be able to do something like that. So you have to be very, very careful. And I explained that to a friend one time because I was asking him to give me a ride for a gig. And he thought it was not a big deal that he could show up to my place an hour late, which would make me in turn an hour and something.
Right.
And I just remember explaining to him, like, you can't do that because that's career suicide. That's the death of my career.
Right.
So, you know, you have to be more punctual. You have to be, caring. But yeah, just the goofy image. I think for me, it has to be more sleek, more professional. It has to be. I think you can have moments of humanity, but also at the same time, people don't care about your humanity.
Right.
Like I have mental health struggles. I'm just like anybody else, but you don't see me posting crying about it. You don't see me doing these things. And as much as people will say, "Oh, I want someone who's real," they don't, because it's not entertaining. You're not in this industry to show your feelings, to show that you're human. You're in this industry to entertain people.
Right.
You know, and you can put some of your story into like a singing form or even a magic form or written or drawing or painting. But at the end of the day, it has to be watered down, because I don't know how many times people have seen my interviews where they've heard the story about how I got into magic. They have no idea how watered down that is. There's abuse that goes into that story. There's trauma that goes into that story. There's the me being patted down, because when you go visit your father in prison, you don't just walk in and they go, "Oh, here's your father at the table." You get patted down, you get scanned, you know what I mean? So there was, at 8 years old, I went to go see him, and this was the stuff that I was dealing with at 8. But instead, the story goes, "Oh, when I was 8 years old, I visited my father in prison. He showed me 2 magic tricks, and it sparked my entire career." Short, simple, and true, but you don't get all the dirty details because no one wants to hear it.
Exactly.
Right? So I've learned how to frame that, and I think I used to think that I was so in control of what people thought of me, and then looking back at it, I go, goofier, goofy. And people respected me, which was great. But I didn't respect myself looking back at it. I'm like, oh, he's a clown a bit. But I was still making big moves, which I think that's what hid the clownery.
It out. Yeah.
And it was tough to realize that. And I spent it almost felt like I was in Hawaii for about a few years. And I learned a lot in a few months about myself and even about the people around me. I had friends who left me for dead on the island who told me they were going to be there for me. And it was shocking. It was very shocking to see and deal with what I was dealing with and not having anybody backing me up physically or emotionally. Because I'm on an island, right? 6 hours behind. Like completely on a completely different island. Being in Hawaii is like being on a different planet. They have a different culture, everything.
Right, because everyone you can't call them. They're asleep or some shit.
And I was the only one. My family didn't move out there with me. I was the only one that moved out there. So I was completely alone. And it was tough. It was really tough. But I got to hone in my magic. So it was a trade-off. I'm not going to get what I got for free.
Right.
Right? So I accepted the suffering. I accepted the beautifulness of Hawaii as well. And then coming back here, realizing we're actually on the same level of beauty as Hawaii. We really are. And you have to go there to see that. Because I came back and I go, am I still in Hawaii? It's just so beautiful. So we take that for granted in New Hampshire, how beautiful we are. But that was I kind of went off the trail, just kind of talking random. Yeah, just like.
It's a great clip.
Yeah, but yeah, so.
Yeah, well, you've been doing a lot of traveling. You said you were recently in Philly.
Oh, Philly. So you would think that my favorite time since I've been gone was in Hawaii, but it wasn't.
Okay.
It was actually the week I spent in Philly.
Really? Why is that?
So have you ever heard of the Carbonara Effect? The show?
Oh, yeah.
No.
Yeah. So I actually got to meet Michael in the flesh.
Okay.
So I'll tell you that story and I'll tell you other stories in Philly. So it was so good. It was so good. So we're sitting there, right? And I think Michael comes in about third day that I'm in Philly. And I'm having breakfast and I'm eating, and all the celebrity magicians are wearing sunglasses. So you know that there's somebody, but you don't know who they are.
Yeah.
And I look across the table and I'm like, is that Michael? No. I'm not that lucky. I'm like, yes, I am. I looked. That's Michael. So I walk over to Michael Carbonaro, and I say, hey, Michael, hi, like, can I take a picture with you? And one of the guys was like, he's eating, leave him alone. And Michael's like, no, like, so we took a picture, and it was great. And then I was lucky enough to have him in class. So we had classes each day with a bunch of different magicians from different ages and different levels and walks of life. And it was at this beautiful manor, like this huge college campus in Philly. And it was called Tannen's like Magic Camp. It's really cool. So I went there and I actually got to meet, Penn and Teller?
No.
So you know Penn and Teller, right? So Penn Jillette's daughter, I met. And she was in the room next to mine, where she was staying. And there was this one point in class where we all could go up and show what we've been working on each day. So it was my turn to go up, and I show, what I've been working on in Hawaii, this 4-ace routine that's just beautiful. I designed the 4-ace routine so it would just be visually delicious, right? And I'm doing this trick, and I'm watching my hands as I do it, and I finish doing the last thing. So I vanish the aces after I make them appear, and the last vanish is just the most beautiful out of all of them. So I'm taking my time with it, and I look up, and everybody's quiet. They're silent, just staring at me. I look over to my right, and Penn's daughter is like mouth just to the floor. And then Alex Boyce, who's a really good innovative magician and very famous, he's teaching the class. He starts clapping. He's like, Deshaun, you are a damn good magician. Thank you for coming to this class. And I didn't know I was that good because in Hawaii, I'm surrounded by Shoot and his disciples, and they're doing crazy things. Like my boss teleported from my phone into a glass case. Into a glass cabinet.
That's wild. Yeah.
Yes. And I was in the room, and I was like, I was supposed to be telling them, it was a practice run. I was supposed to be explaining the different things in the cases like they had trained me to do.
Yeah.
And as I'm looking, the phone, there's a phone that vibrates, and I'm looking, and it's my lock screen. And it's inside of a glass case, inside of a glass cabinet. I'm like, but it was just in my pocket. How is that possible? He even fooled Shoot with it. And Shoot is like, oh, I didn't see that at all.
That's crazy.
So it was, and these are the type of people I was working with. So of course I was depressed, right? Because I was like, what the? I was very blessed and very honored, but at the same time, I'm like, why? Why am I not that good?
But that's how you improve, though, being around people who are better.
Yes, but in Philly, it was different.
Yeah.
I was the shit.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I'm back, so it was great because there was all different types of magician. Even the ones that were like, high there, they looked at me and they're like, oh, you're really good.
Right. It's like you was on level 10, but then you went back to level 5
yeah,
or some shit.
And it was weird. It was a flat influx of awesome ideas, but the lectures, we actually got to see Teller. Teller showed up on a big screen, and he did a lecture. He did a Q&A and stuff. So it was really, really cool to see all those magicians. I got to meet Danny Garcia. I got to meet Blake Vaught. I got to meet a lot of them. One of the ones I love was Rob Zabrecki. Now, Rob Zabrecki, he's a horror magician, okay? So I love horror, and I love magic. So I love this guy. So Rob Zabrecki is this skinny, old, white dude who's he just naturally looks creepy, right? And when I find out he's going to be performing, I get so excited. And we have the performers before him are two couples who can like read minds and stuff. They can speak to spirits or whatever. So they can look at you and be like, oh, we know you live on this street, this, and this. And they're like, what the hell? We never told you that.
Right.
They're like, oh, is your aunt's name Shelly? And they're like, how the hell? It's really cool.
Just dox them live.
Just amazing stuff. And then you have Rob Zabrecki come in. Now, the entire time for each show, because each day of the week, at the end of the day, we had shows, right, that we got to watch professionals do their stuff. There's been these cardboard boxes as the setup, like the background. It was like the wall, and it says Tannins on it, right? It was just a wall full of just stacked up boxes, as far as we could tell. Rob Zabrecki comes in, I kid you not, the lights go dim. This wall opens into a door. And then you see smoke come out, and then you see Rob creep out. Yeah. And you hear everybody scream. You hear, oh my God. He could have just done that, and that could have been his show. And then walked on stage and said, I'm Rob Zabrecki. Have a good night. And everyone would have accepted that as the show. That's it. That's all he needed to do was just he set the tone. So I learned a lot about that, about setting the tone. He set the tone for the next 30 minutes of what we were about to experience, or about an hour of what we were about to experience. We knew we were in for something diabolical just from the beginning, because no one, like I said, those were just cardboard boxes. And then all of a sudden it turns into a door, and then he creeps out, and then the music and the everything, he's one of the best performers that there was, or that there is. And so I was very lucky, and I was very lucky to actually show him that same card trick that I showed in class. And he looks at me, he goes, Sean, I don't like card tricks, but yours, I absolutely loved it. It was beautiful. Really enjoyed it. And it was very honorable. Yeah, I was just rambling on, but yeah, I loved it. I loved Philly. It was beautiful. It was, wow. man, I mean, the best time I had while I was out there.
Mhm.
And I loved working in Hawaii because I got to build my reps in. I got to see different things. I went on a dinner cruise. First time I ever treated myself to anything. And it was a sunset dinner cruise,
Ooh, that's what's up.
complimentary drinks, steak, lobster, just beautiful champagne. And it was, I don't know, it was just, I don't like the water. I can't swim. So I'm like, if Titanic happens, we're dying.
Yeah, same here. We're going
so
down.
yeah, I definitely don't treat myself to stuff like that. But I said, you know what? I'm in Hawaii. I was a yes man out there. You know, my shoot would say, oh, you want to eat with chopsticks? Yes, I'm eating with chopsticks. You want to try this Korean or Japanese food? Yes. I became half Japanese out there. You know, so it was really great. I said yes to everything, all experience. Because I thought about it, how dumb would it be if I said yes to traveling across the world and then just kept saying no from there?
Right, exactly.
So that's when I, started doing a little bit of indulgence into alcohol and stuff, which my friends rag on me because, as everyone knows, I don't smoke or drink, and that's a huge thing of my brand.
Yeah.
And the reason why that is because, and not to knock on anybody else who does it, I think that it's so normalized that if I do it, it's like, okay, everyone smokes. Like,
you almost stand out by not doing it.
And what actually ended up happening was, and you can ask DJ Reckless this because he was one of the people who reached out too. So before I had left, I had already filmed for to be on TV before I left. I was already in the union leader. My face was on a billboard. I had done everything I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I said, you know what? I am going to take a night out with my friend Emily. She had her 21st birthday. So she went out drinking, whatever. Yeah. She wanted me to come with. Now, everybody who knows me knows I'm boring in that way where I don't go out. I don't do nothing. I just stay focused at work. Yeah. But I had done everything, and it was a few days left until I leave for Hawaii. So I go, and I have Red Bull in my cup. I'm drinking I kid you not. I'm not drinking any alcohol at all. And I'm partying, whatever, trying to hide. But, of course, I can't at this point. Then the next morning, I wake up to a shit ton of text messages. I mean, my phone's blown up. Pictures, zooming in pictures of my cup, asking me what's in the cup. Yeah. So you know what I'm saying? Like, and my thing is, it worked. The fact that I don't drink had caused such a spark that people were framing my hand in my cup. And then I remember DJ Reckless is talking to me and says, Deshaun, people are reaching out to me asking me like, what is in the cup? Like, what is So it's amazing. So imagine if I had like a pencil that I shaved to make look like a blunt, people would go insane. People would just go insane. So it has worked. It's worked. And I think being so controversial in that way really helps my image. And I really try to push, and to the point where people do take it as arrogance. Because I've had people say to me, it's this one girl who reached out to me on Facebook and commented like, "Oh, well, you don't do anything. So what stories do you have for your kids?" Right? But this was the same girl in high school, went in the library and talked about how she gave a guy a hand job.
Jesus,
you know what I mean? Like, but it's like, you know what I mean? And I'm like, are you gonna tell your kids that story?
Exactly.
Like, you know what I mean? I'd rather tell my kids that I succeeded every way that I could, right? Rather than, hey, I took heroin that one time and I wigged out and I had to get Narcan, but I'm okay now. Just don't do it. You know what I mean? Right. And I think too, I like to make less mistakes as possible. We're human. We're gonna make them, and they're actually healthy to make. But if you can make as less as possible, do it. So what I do is I watch other people make those mistakes. If I'm curious, hey, I actually, there's a new drug on the market, or there's a new alcohol on the market. I'm interested in seeing what I would look like or what it might do to me. I know I have friends who will do it immediately. I'm going to watch them. And if something happens with them, I know not to do it. Why do I have to do it? Why do I have to put myself in jeopardy to learn something that I can learn from somebody? Somebody out there is doing it. We have Google.
Exactly.
We can actually look it up, right? We can actually look up what are the symptoms of it. People didn't have that back in the day. So when people do that and something happens to them, I'm very cruel. I don't really necessarily feel bad because you have so many things nowadays that you can figure out what that might have done to you before you did it. And a lot of people, you have to really think. I think people are starting to lose sight of thinking, and they also forget that two things can be true at once, right? So some people go, no, it's this answer. No, it's this answer. What if they're both correct, right? It's possible. People forget that. And I think that's what, when it goes into politics and things like that, that's why I stay away from that stuff. One, because it's the death of your image, right? If you are in a state where, let's say you're in a state where they vote this way, and then you're not paying attention to that, so you give your opinion.
Right.
Now you're not getting any gigs in the area.
Exactly.
Because you opened up your mouth and said your political views, and it's just not even healthy to have political views, because if you do, it's going to slip up one of these days, and you're going to do it, and it's going to shut you down. There's a lot of things that are death of careers that people don't pay attention to, unless you're a career politician. Then of course, speak politics and be opinionated all you want.
But even then, that has its own issues, its own grifters, its own thing too.
And what makes me mad too is these young artists or young rappers too. They're taking, and sometimes they're doing the things that these famous rappers are saying they're doing. Now, I would like people to question yourselves when a famous rapper who's been like up in Beverly Hills or whatever, living at high life, when he's talking about doing a drive-by shooting that he did yesterday, right? Do you think he's really doing that? Right? Do you think he's living in Hollywood? He's living it up. He's sleeping with Cardi B, sleeping with, you know what I mean? He's not gangbang. He's not doing that anymore. He may be rapping about it. He may even be rapping about what he used to do back at home.
Exactly.
But my thing is, these young artists will look at that and they'll go, "Oh, let me commit a crime. It's cool."
Right.
These people aren't doing it anymore. They're not.
And a lot of it is that these people are so young that their brains aren't fully developed even to the point where they can make rational decisions. That's when it's up to us, the environment's against them.
As artists, because we have control over what people view, right? When we're artists, whether it's with our mouths or with our vocals or whether it's with visuals or whatever it is, even painting, whatever it is, we control the visual narrative. So I think it's very like with me, you know what I think what a gangster is? I don't think a gangster is pow, 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 and doing the gangster. I don't. I think being a gangster is doing what you have to do, doing what you need to do for your family, getting that stuff done. I think we are really, and it's sad because we live in a world where we have our phones, right? We have the world in the palm of our hands. If we really wanted to, we should look up and do research on these things. These so-called gangsters who are doing all these different things, and it sucks because we're young, right? And then we have even a younger generation that's watching us, just like we watch the other generation. So we have to be very careful what we do. And we have to be very careful, again, of our image. It all goes back to image. And people are going to say, oh, that's self-centered, that's whatever. It's not. It's just, it's fact. And I think people need to stop being so sensitive to facts. And I think they need to really focus, because I think the more you worry about your feelings, the less stuff is going to get done.
Right.
When I was more touchy-feely, I was getting less done and I was seeing less results. When I became more, I don't want to say realistic because I hate that word.
Yeah.
But when I became more real and more honest about things, I got a lot more stuff done. I conquered a lot of things. Like when my face was on the billboard, that wasn't for me. That was not, I've never cared to actually have, and that's, people are probably gonna be like, you want to be on TV, you want to be all these things, but you never thought about being on a billboard? No.
Right.
That was a gift to my mother. My mom, when she was younger, she grew up always wanting to be on a billboard. So I can't put my mom on a billboard, right? But the best thing I can do is put her son on a billboard. So I found a way to get myself on a billboard for the taco tour as a gift to my mother. Those are moves that are gangsters. Those are moves that are, you know, those things are moves that the youth should be looking at.
Well, the other thing too is it's like, it's hard to give advice because of the way that humans interpret, because it's like you said, some of us are here, some of us are here, some of us are here. And it's like, this person can't get this person understands this person, but it's all this. That's kind of like why organized religion exists to a certain degree, because people read things like the Bible, Quran, Torah, whatever it may be, and they interpret these words, and these words are structured in a certain way where you can incorporate it and apply it into your own perspective and gain these lessons and philosophy and ways of thinking by like looking at it from your perspective. Like you're able to look at, you can take the poorest man or the richest man, they're going to read it and they're both going to come away with a similar feeling and message, even though they're both looking at it like, oh, maybe this guy's looking at it way on a deeper Harvard, more intellectual way of looking at it. This guy's more just, I work 9 to 5, whatever. The real difficulty that I find is just like, how do we incorporate that line of thinking into like our content, into like our image? How do we get it to be such a universal concept that's just understood amongst the masses, rather than just, I give advice about this and like, now this niche fucks with me and they understand where I'm coming from, but they only get that because we come from the same environment. We come from the same struggles. What about the the more college educated people maybe over here, why aren't they understanding it? Because they're not self-actualizing what you're saying into their own views and their own beliefs.
And I think, and I think I may have part of the answer to that, because I learned that in Hawaii, that it's about keeping your mouth shut. My whole thing was, I like to be loud. I was always doing things loud. You would never see me move without it being big. And I used to hate the posts that say move in silence. Because I'm like, no, I'm not moving in silence. I want everybody to know I'm in the room. I want everybody to know I'm here.
Right.
Then I realized I had a bit of a trip up before I left that nobody knew about. And I was in a relationship that was really bad. I mean, really bad. And still nobody to this day, even though if I bring it up, people aren't going to know what I'm talking about because it was just so hidden. And it was such a failure on my end. Like, just the stuff I was allowing to happen and things. It was such a failure.
What if that got out?
What if it got out? It would have been like, people would have laughed at me. The stuff that I was allowing to happen in this relationship, people would have, and I wouldn't even allow anybody to respect me.
Right.
They'd come up to me, be like, I respect you. Like, don't do it. Don't respect me. Right. But it was quiet because the way that the relationship was set up, it was set up to be quiet.
It was in the dark. Yeah,
it was in the dark. And so I came back bigger and better than ever, and nobody knew why. And nobody knew that I came from wherever I came from to now this. It was so great. And then I had time to think about that in Hawaii where, I should be quiet. I should let my work speak for itself. And that's why when I came here, I didn't post that I was back. I'm just going to do little things here and there and just, like coming here and stuff like that. Just slowly coming back. I don't need to do a post, say, hey, guess who's back? And,
right, but you checked in with your people.
Yeah,
you
I did.
Kept it gangster.
Yeah, exactly. I checked in. I made everybody who needed to know.
Exactly.
No, exactly. And, I didn't want, I learned to be very quiet. And it was very hard to learn from me because you see me very flashy and all this stuff. And that's going to change because I matured and I realized, yes, it's great, but again, it's image, right? If I keep doing the flashy stuff, it's not flashy anymore. It's sweatpants and sweatshirt, just like everybody else is wearing.
Right.
They're going to get used to it. So if I take away the flashiness and then bring it out every once so often, then it gives it that pop and it's all image. So we have to be very careful, even to who we date, who our friends are, because they're going to be a reflection of us, right? Yeah. If you're dating this girl, that's so-and-so's girl, but she does stupid stuff.
Right.
That reflects on you because your name is already in front of so-and-so's girl, right? So, or so-and-so's cousin or so-and-so. There have been family members, I'm not even going to lie, I've distanced myself from because they're ridiculous. They're doing things I don't agree with and my image does not compatible with.
Right.
And so some people aren't ready for those sacrifices. And what makes me mad about some artists, especially in the city, because I love the artists in the city. I love that they're trying to do things, but I have given opportunities to some of them that they have literally just dropped the ball on.
You don't follow up. Like, what the fuck?
And I was like, so one of the rappers, and I understand, because we were just having a conversation about them, but I was really sad and really upset about it. I had given him a platform, radio. So I don't know how many local Manchester artists actually have their songs on actual radio, like next to Cardi B, next to Doja Cat. I had an opportunity and I gave it to one of the local rappers and he did not take it. And I could not believe I wanted to start making art. I wanted to start just so I could have taken that. I mean, there was nothing. I was already on the radio. The guy interviewed me and then I said, hey, I ran it by him. I said, hey, listen, I know you play music. Like, is it possible? Just possible. Right. He's like, yeah, hell yeah. I said, oh, okay. Gave him information, everything, handed him gold. And, and then there are other artists who I reach out to and they'll literally wait for months to reach back out to me.
Right.
Now, I'm not the type of person, I'm not calling you to ask how your grandma is. Like, I'm not calling you to be like, oh, the sky's blue. If I call you, if you get a call or a text from me, it's because I've got something
exactly,
for you.
Yes.
So the fact that, and people know that, like, it's not like it,
same with me. Yeah.
Right? Exactly. That's why, when you text or answer, I try to answer as soon as possible.
And same here.
Because that this person is reaching, there's gotta be, this person's connected. He's probably reaching, he's not wasting my time. Right?
Exactly.
The fact that I'm having artists reach out to me or I'll call them and they'll be like, oh, I saw that you called. I'm just gonna wait to answer. It's crazy to me.
And it happens
So
a
I
lot
stopped
in the
doing
rap
it.
world.
I stopped doing it. I stopped trying to connect people, and I got a little bitter because I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to connect us all together. But what are you doing? But you say, right? You say that you want to go up to these lengths. And I'm helping you get there. I don't believe you.
Right.
I don't. I don't believe you because you're not doing what it takes to get there. So there are a lot of people out there, and I knew coming back I was going to start being more controversial because before I was being a little too cute and a little too quiet, but I had these emotions, I had these feelings and helping people out. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to keep helping and smiling. Then I went to Hawaii and I suffered.
Yeah.
13 hours a day, 6 days a week, 2 shows a night. As although I'm doing what I love, it was tough. And then I realized, oh my gosh, this is like slave work. This is hard work that I'm putting in to do what I love. And then I started thinking about some of the artists that I've spoken to. They said that they want to do what I'm doing or close to it, or they want to get to a certain part in their career,
but they're
not doing that work. And they're just like, and then there was another artist I spoke to who I was like, hey, like, I like your music. Like, I genuinely like this guy's music. I have it in my playlist on YouTube. It's very hard to get it on my playlist on YouTube. And I said, when's your next stuff coming out? He said, oh, I'm dealing with a lot of stuff, da-da-da. And I said, what makes you think that making that album won't get you out of that? That's another thing people got to stop doing. Oh, I'm busy. I'm dealing with stuff right now. How do you know? Whatever it is you're dealing with, you're talking about rent, you're talking about your girlfriend, whatever it is. If it's your girlfriend, you're going to have 15 more.
Yeah.
Right? Screaming
Straight
your
up.
name in stadiums, like thousands of them. If it's rent, I mean, you're going to be moving out of your apartment into a mansion. Like, what are you talking about?
Right.
You need to work on your craft. Your craft is what's going to get you out there, or quit. That's it. There's no in between. You're not going to keep, because at the end of the day, what you end up doing
You're
is you're just making music. Yeah. You're just making music and you're struggling and you're essentially, to the outside world, you're going to look like a loser.
Yeah.
Right? You're just a paper bag, right?
Yeah.
You're just doing whatever. But saying out of your mouth that you want more, that's what I can't stand. You can play around with music. You can make it as a hobby if you want. I don't care, but don't come out your mouth and say you want more. Right. And then you're being a paper bag.
What you put in is what you should be getting out type shit.
Yeah, I hate that. And I hate when people waste my time. I hate when they say, oh, I'm willing to do this, willing to do that. I give you the information. And it also looks bad on me. The guy from the radio, I can't do that again. I can't go over to him and say, hey, I have a guy. He's going to be like, oh, no, I know what Deshaun's guys are.
Right.
I know what Magicman's guys are. They're guys who don't reach back out. That's bad on me.
Right. And it's like, we've been in the same boat. We've done events where we buy out studios, like nice ass studios, like the Quad, for example. Everyone, like, if you were from New York, you know what the Quad is. Like,
greatest
everyone,
dub we've ever taken.
One of the greatest dubs we've ever taken. And like, that was an industry studio. I'm pretty sure Lil Durk was in the fucking building the same day that we were fucking there. There was some massive artists there. And it's like, yo, there was plaques of Pop Smoke all over the wall. There was Biggie Smalls recorded Big Papa in that room. Like, this was a valid studio. We didn't fuck around. We invited mad people. Everyone in the city. We offered rides. We offered all types of shit. We're like, yo, do this, da-da-da-da. I knew people in the city I tapped in with. Bro, nobody showed up. I recorded for 12 hours straight. I was sick. I was sick on a live stream from fucking, my throat wasn't even working. I still got 4 or 5 usable tracks out of that 12-hour fucking session of just sickness. Just sickness on the microphone. And it's like, if you artists showed up, you guys would have had like industry people who could get you guys places. Like, I hear of artists, they go to Rolling Loud, they have USBs of their fucking music. But it's like, bro, if you're going to the studio and the engineer's recording you, you're paying like $60 an hour to get that shit done, and you get the MP3 file back of that song, and that's what you're uploading and putting on to Spotify, what the fuck are you doing? Because every other artist is then sending that shit to a mastering, they're doing all this other shit, they're making it sound good on the radio. It's like, bro, you're not competing. You're competing with the hood. Yeah. That's where you're going to be, is the hood, if you keep releasing shit like this.
And here's what's tough, too, and what people need to realize, too, is when you're rapping or singing about the same shit everybody else is, but you think you have a different spin, the reason why, this is kind of taking a little bit of credit from me, but it was a little easier to stand out in the city because I'm the only magician my age doing it to the level I'm doing it. if there had been other ones, I'd have to fight, right?
Exactly.
Right? Exactly. I'd have to fight.
Exactly.
Now, mind you, they do exist.
Yeah,
They do exist in the city.
I've never.
They're just not doing. Yeah, they're just not
Yes.
doing it to the level. So they seem very quiet. They seem very invisible. What's hard about being an artist in this city, especially when it comes to music, is that there's so many, almost an infestation of them. Now, if that's the case, like me, when I go to move to Hollywood, I'm gonna have the same issue as any rapper or any artist in this city. I'm gonna have the same issue because there's a castle full of them, and then there's also ones that don't belong to the castle.
Right.
And I'm also gonna try to do acting. How many actors are in? I mean,
Exactly.
come on, right? A lot. So like versus me and Zendaya, Zendaya's getting it, but like you know what I mean. So with doing, there's something that has to stick out. And so what I did was not only did I only do magic, I'm making sure that I'm doing motivational speaking. I'm consulting with the government, the state. I'm also, I don't drink, I don't smoke, all these different things that are like, what does he do? And the government stuff it was more secretive. This is the first time that people are even hearing about that. Because even in my New Hampshire Chronicle interview, I didn't bring it up.
That's real shit.
So yeah, so I kept like my DCYF and stuff. Like I work with kids and homeless youth and stuff like that to elevate them. But that was, I didn't want that public really because it felt like I was bringing a camera to the homeless and being like, look what I'm doing. Look what, you know. I'd rather have a camera on me doing magic and be like, oh, look what this guy's doing, than being like, oh, let me, give crackers to a 5-year-old who's out on the street and be like, look how good I am. It wasn't like that. It was more, I really wanted to help these people and no one needed to know. Oh, all right. Yeah. But I want you to ask your questions if you have. I'm just kind of rambling.
Like we're pretty much out of the questions anyways, so.
But yeah, people have to help each other. Is one thing that I really want people to take away is we have to start changing. We have to start really looking at ourselves and bettering ourselves. And it's hard. It's not easy to look at yourself in the mirror and say, oh shit, man, I have to really start focusing on certain things and changing the way I think and things. It's hard, but it's worth it. And people have to try harder or don't try at all. I spoke to my mom and I asked my mom, I said, Mom, you're so talented and you're such a beautiful woman. How come you didn't want to do more?
Yeah.
And she said, Deshaun, if I'm being honest with you, I like the way that I am. I like the way that I live. I do what needs to be done and that's it. I don't go above and beyond. And I respected that because, at first I was like, well, like, you're so talented. You're so, you could do more. But she said she doesn't want to. Everyone's exactly.
Right.
And it was so weird. I had so much respect for that because it was honest.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, oh, I'm going to be this big shot.
Right.
And you're not even doing the work.
Exactly.
I have no respect for that. The fact that, I have way more respect for someone who's literally like, I don't want to do more. I just want to breathe. I just want to be able to breathe, pay bills, and that's it. Then respect someone who looks like they're trying to do all these big things, but they're really not about it.
And I agree with that.
It's
we gonna wrap it up. I need to ask you. What's
I
up?
see you got a deck of cards.
Oh,
I see
yeah.
a dollar bill flashing. If you got something you want to show,
I was just about to ask. I need to see some card tricks, yo.
all right. So I'm gonna show you the one from Philly. A little bit of a shuffle first because this is in new deck order. So
Oh damn.
yeah, I just opened these. All right. Do that again.
Look how smooth he is with that.
All right.
You do a one-handed cut.
Oh, talking about like the sharp.
Yeah.
Oh,
What's it
Exactly
called? Like
like
the-
that, yeah.
slick.
That's the only thing I can remember how to do.
So I'm gonna have you. Let's see. I'm gonna have you tell me when to stop.
Okay. Stop.
Right here.
Yep.
All right. Memorize that. You see that card?
Yep.
Okay. Watch very closely. Hello? Yeah. No, I'm at an interview right now. I just had a card selected. What was that? Ace of Clubs?
That's some bullshit.
That's what they told me. Ace of Clubs.
That's some. Ain't that song?
So there's
Ain't
that one
song.
ace.
That's one ace.
The second ace here. Now, if I give it a few cuts like this, you're going to notice the third ace is a little different from the other ones because it's actually a painter.
Shit.
Nah, yo. What? That was
That's
a
a
fresh
painting.
deck that you pulled out too.
Yeah, that's 1, that's 2, that's 3, and that's 4 aces. Watch very, very closely. I go like that, and usually when a magician waves, it it gets it to disappear. Do you notice that there's one ace gone?
Yeah.
Now here, I'll do that again. Watch. And there goes another ace. But you know what the problem with that one is? Is that I don't like it because you don't get to see it. So this one, watch the ace of diamonds. Just watch.
Yo.
And this one, I want you to really come close for this one. This is the ace of spades. You're really gonna like how buttery smooth
Ain't that some shit,
that
yo?
one is.
Yeah.
And that was the one that people lost it over.
That's wild, Joe.
Yeah, it was very fun to perform.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a regular deck of card. I could do it with anybody's deck, and it's amazing.
I love that shit, man. I love that shit.
Thank
So thank you again for coming out to Smoking with Tutal. We always appreciate you on here. You know what I'm saying? All y'all uplift yourself. Tap in with him on all his socials. We gonna have it in the description. You know what I'm saying? Uplift yourself.
Yes.
You.
Good episode.